Hey, badass business owners, you made it to the end of another year and you're about to start a new year. And now is the time to take a step back and reflect on a couple of questions. So what I want to do today is I want to ask you 3 questions. And while you're listening or watching, I want you to really think about the question and how you would answer it. And you may have already done an exercise similar to this. I always recommend to people to kind of take a few minutes, reflect backwards, and then also take this past year and take it into the new year. Because what a lot of people do is they kind of just roll from one year into the next year, and they really don't take that pause. And we kind of really need to take that pause because otherwise you're more likely going to repeat the previous year. Now, if you've had a crushing year and you've done great, you might think, oh, Tammy, what's so wrong with that? Why would I not want to repeat last year? I'm not saying you don't, but wouldn't you like to improve on it even more? More than likely you do. And what's great is if you've had a crappy year, this is a time where you get to close that chapter and start a new chapter and go into the next phase of your business. So either way, you want to take that pause and you want to ask yourself these 3 questions. So what are they? Well, the first question I want you to do is I want you to think back over the past year, and I want you to think about something that really made a difference in your business. By you doing this one thing, it really helped your business do really well. It might have taken off. You might have done something in regards to your pricing and you kind of started to figure it out. You might have hired your first person. You might have changed the way that you hire people, period. Or you may have fired some people, or you may have fixed a process that was broken in your business. But whatever it was, you did something in your business that really was for the positive. It was probably the one thing you are most thankful, excited about that you did in your business. And I don't want you to just come up with something superficial. What I want you to do is, what specifically did you do? Okay. Sometimes when I ask this question, people kind of, well, I price better. Okay, great. You price better. But what specifically did you do to start pricing better? Because it was what you did that made the difference. Okay. Did you sit down and you looked at your competitors? Did you sit down and did you look at your gross profit and your expenses and then try to figure out that, oh, my pricing is way off? Or did you find out that, you know what, I'm not making any money because I'm running all over town and I need to organize my, the way that I do my jobs, whatever. There was something or some things specifically that you did that made a difference for why that is such a positive move you made in your business. And I want you to enjoy the fact that, hey, I did this and look at the benefits I got out of it. Even if you had a crappy year, that doesn't mean that you did not do some really positive things in your business. So what I want you to do is to really think about, what did you do specifically in the business to help make a difference that just, wow, I was excited. But be specific with yourself. It's really important because, like I said, way too many people fly over and just don't really go, wow, it was because I took this action, I got this result. Now, the second question I want you to ask yourself is, what's the one thing you wish you would have done, right? You know you needed to do it. You beat yourself up all year that, oh God, I really need to do this. I need to sit down and carve out time to do this. Or if I would have just done this, things would have been different. Now, once again, don't be flyover. Don't just say something that's just got no meat to it. I want you to ask yourself, then, why didn't you do it? Okay, maybe we'll stick with the example of pricing. Maybe you didn't address your pricing. Why didn't you? What got in the way? Was it you didn't carve out the time? Was it you started and stopped the project so many times? Were you afraid of what you were going to find out and it didn't do it? Or did you do it and you just mucked it up? You didn't do any research. You just kind of like, hey, this is what I want to price. And then you screwed it all up and you actually made your situation worse. Because losing people isn't a bad thing if you're making more money. Because I have some videos where we talk about that you can raise your prices, lose some people, and actually make more money because your profit is bigger on the ones that you're doing. But I want you to really ask yourself, what's the one thing that you either mucked up really bad or something that you wish you would have done and you didn't? Okay, so it's like your one regret, the one thing that just, oh gosh, if I could go back in time and figure out this. I wish I would have done that. Okay. And once again, I want you to be specific. I want you to ask yourself what went wrong. All right. You knew you needed to do it. You just didn't do it. Or maybe you didn't know you needed to do it, but as you get to the end of the year, you think, oh my God, you know what? If I would have just done this, I would have been so much better. Okay. Now, here's why both of those questions are really important. I'm going to get to the third question here in a minute, but I want to talk about these first two for a second. The reason they're important is, one, we fail to celebrate our wins. And a lot of times we just kind of fly over and keep going, but there was something that caused that win to happen. And if you can duplicate that in other areas of your business, you actually will continue to grow your business and you will continue to get even more wins in the upcoming year. So whatever it was that you did, how can you duplicate that win into other areas? All right. And two, just enjoy the win, even if it's for 5-10 minutes or, a day, whatever. Quit beating yourself up. You did some great stuff. I want you to acknowledge what you did great, and I want you to feel it. But more importantly, how can you duplicate that? Now, when you're thinking about the things you didn't do or the one big thing that you didn't, you get two jobs with that one. The first one is you need to fix it. So how do you make that a top priority in the coming year? So next year, this time, it could be your win, right? You know that you can address it. You can make it better. You can fix it. And now when we're having this conversation a year from now, you're going to go, oh my God, I took my biggest problem from the previous year and I just fixed it for the new year. And these are the results. And this is what we got out of it. Because a lot of times what we find is we know there's something in our business. If we just fix it, it's going to help us. It could be customer service. It could be people. It could be pricing. It could be a million things. But at the end of the day, it helps propel our business forward. It helps us become more profitable. And it's important that you really have a clear understanding of what it is that needs to get done. But more importantly, you gotta have a plan. All right. I don't want you just to identify what the issue is. I want you to make sure that you're also putting together a plan of how you're going to do it. I'm going to do these 10 steps. And if I do these 10 steps, I'm going to take care of this problem. So be very specific with it. Right now, you've got it kind of going on in your head. I want you to take some time later today, maybe tonight or no later than tomorrow. You got to do it while it's fresh. I want you to write down what's the plan that you're going to use. Now, here's the key thing. You may tweak that plan. That's okay. You can write an outline out today so that way you at least get it down and then you can fine tune it in the next day or two. But the important thing is that you identify what that one thing is that caused you heartache all of last year, or that one thing that if you would have implemented or changed it would have helped you grow even more. All right. And that's what you're going to make sure you're going to do in the coming year. And that leads us to question number 3. What are your sales and profit goals for the new year? Sounds simple, right? I want to do more money. I want to make more money. That is not the goal, okay? Yes, it is the goal, don't get me wrong, but that's not how you write a goal. What specific sales number are you going after? Maybe you did 100 grand last year in sales, and this year you want to do 200 grand. You want to double it. Maybe you did 1.5 million, and now you want to do 2 million. It doesn't matter. What is that specific sales goal? Then I want you to do the same thing with your profit. What's your profit tracking this year? You should know it up through November. What's the profit that you want to have next year? Especially if you make some of those changes and tweaks that you're going to go after, because you're going to improve on your win this year, and then you're going to address the biggest thing holding you back, right? Both those things, if you get better at one and you improve the other, you're going to do even better. So what are your profit goals for next year? Now, here's the funny thing. Most of you have no clue what your actual sales numbers are, and you have no clue what your actual profit is. You might have an idea. You might have a ballpark. You might know, well, I've got X amount in the bank, so I must have done okay. Okay, bank accounts are a little bit of an indicator, but it really doesn't give you the true number as to what you did in sales or profits. And remember, it's a profit game, not a sales game. So you can go after the millions of dollars or whatever it is that you want to go to in sales, but without a good, solid plan for your profits, you might just double your business, create twice as much work, and make a lot less money. And some people will do that. But here's the problem for some of you. if you do not have a clear understanding of what your true number is tracking for sales, you've got a problem. If you don't know what your true number is tracking for profits right now, you've got a problem. And I can tell you what the problem is. You don't know your business numbers. You might have an idea of your business numbers, but I can guarantee you, you're not tracking them. You're not looking at your bookkeeping. You might not even be doing any kind of bookkeeping. If you go out and watch any kind of interview, go to YouTube and watch any kind of successful business person, they're going to talk about one of the most critical things they did for their business to grow their business was to learn and understand their business numbers. They'll tell you that. It made a huge difference. That's when they started to take off because they used the numbers to run the business. And the decisions are based off of knowing their numbers. And that's why this question is so important to you because, like I said, I deal with people all of the time. And you'd be shocked at how many people are taking wild ass guesses as to what their sales are and to what their profits are. I have people that have great bookkeeping, right? Their CPA does it. They have a bookkeeper, whatever the case may be, but they never look at the numbers. So here is someone handing you the blueprint of what's going on in your business, handing you the information, but you never open the email. You never open up the packet that they send you. You never ask any questions. You don't find out what any of the lines mean. It's chock full of information, and yet you're not using it. All right. So if you do anything else in this coming year, please make a commitment that you're going to learn and understand your business numbers. And the way you're going to start with that is you're going to dig out once your this year's numbers, which will be last year's numbers for most of you guys reading this or watching this, I want you to get that full year's numbers. And if you can compare it to the year prior, even better. But look at those numbers. What was your sales? What were your sales by month? What was your profit looking like for the year? What was your profit looking like by month? It's so critical that you understand what you did so that you can tweak and change and grow for the next one. You might find you're doing better than you thought you were. You've been sitting here beating yourself up because you have no money because you're using the bank account as the issue. And the reality is your books and your numbers look great, but you've got a spending problem. Death by 1,000 cuts. You're pulling out $100, $300, $500. You're bleeding off everything because you have a lifestyle problem at home versus the fact that your business is actually doing really well. So you're sitting here saying, oh, my business sucks. And the reality is your business is great. You are terrible at managing your money. That's a different problem than you have a bad business. I knew a business owner that was doing fantastic. He had probably, $200,000 in profits and was always constantly broke and thought the business sucked. No, their spending habits were the problem. It wasn't the business. The business was doing great, but yet every conversation was how bad the business was doing, and it wasn't. It was a business owner who wasn't managing the business and wasn't looking at the numbers, because I think if they would have realized how much money was going out on these personal things left and right and how profitable the business actually was, they would have been so in love with their business. And then they would have taken a hard look personally and said, wow, we've been spending money like drunken sailors on the weekend, right? Because that's what was happening. That bank account was sitting flush and had money in it and was constantly coming in. So they thought they had all this money to spend. And then what happens is they get to the end of the year, they've got no money, right? They've been living month to month because they've been taking it all. But then they wonder why they have a tax bill of $30,000 or $40,000. And it's like, yeah, you spent it because you weren't looking at your profits every month and setting money aside to pay those taxes. You know what? I think any of us would say, oh, I would love to make $200,000. I hate the fact I have to spend all that money in taxes. But let me tell you, if you had a W-2 and you were being paid for working for somebody else, it's just that money comes out monthly from those paychecks and you never even notice it, but you were paying those taxes all along. It's just as a business owner, we have to pull that money out and pay them quarterly so that we get them done. You're not going to turn away money just because you've got to pay taxes. You pay taxes on everything. It is what it is. Now, you can work on tax strategies with the CPA and get with somebody that can help you with that so you pay less taxes. But for most of you, I don't understand why it's always a surprise. But I'll tell you why it's a surprise. Because once again, you're not looking at your numbers. You're not looking at your sales. You're not looking at your profits. You have no idea how much money you're making. So 3 questions. Did you do great last year so that you can duplicate it and continue to grow it? Second, what's the one thing you dropped the ball on and that you really are going to focus on in this coming year to make a difference and put a plan specifically together to get that done? And third, you are going to make a commitment to yourself right now that you are going to learn and understand those business numbers. And if your financial house is a mess, you're going to take whatever steps you need to take to get somebody to help you get your books in order so you can start looking at those P&Ls. And if you want to understand those business numbers better, watch the videos over on YouTube or check out the course, Know Your Business Numbers course.com. It's in the show notes. Whatever it takes, I just want you to be successful. I want you to make money. I don't want you to continue to work longer, harder hours and then wonder where the money's going. If you don't look at your business numbers, that's the life that you were signing up for. Tons of hours, working your tail off, having no money, and not knowing where it went. That's what people do because they just think if they just work hard, it's going to fix it. Just working hard isn't going to fix it. And it's about time you start doing something about that. All right. Now with that, I'm done preaching. You got 3 questions to think about. What was the best thing that you did this past year that grew your business? What's the one thing you're going to work on in this new year to grow the business? And third, how are you going to learn and understand your business numbers better so you can use them to really take off next year? And by the way, 2 and 3 might actually be combined for some of you. But with that, I'm out of here, and I look forward to helping all of you guys in the coming year. And I really look forward to creating even more stuff, hopefully, because that's one of my big goals for this coming year is more tutorials and things to help you understand those business numbers. And I just got to make it happen. All right, with that, I'm out here, and I will see you next time. Bye for now.